Hey everyone, Jarek Robbins here, president of Success Enterprises. Welcome to another Success Talk. We have the founder and partner in MyPlace. His name is Zach Bell. I met Zach when we were at Esalen in Southern California. And he's someone who's bringing together community in a very special way. I think now more than ever, after the COVID lockdowns, with traveling just opening up, people are craving travel, people are craving community, and people are craving both travel with like-minded people who share similar values, similar interests, and we want to get together in different parts of the world and really have community-based experiences that really bring more juice to our life. So Zach, welcome. We're thrilled to have you here. And as always, Tristan, the CMO of Success, is joining us. Welcome both. Nice to see you.
Cool. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Dude, where are you located, man? Because I'm looking at an amazing background of yours, and I'm imagining a beach. And
Well, we're building a whole culture and community around travel and sharing. So I for my job, I have to have a background. It's part of the requirement.
check.
But no, I'm on the beach in Baja California in a little surf shack. And it's the roof's made out of sticks and leaves, but there's a really fast internet tower I put on top of it.
Oh wow, I thought for sure you were using Starlink. So, but there you go.
I have the Starlink as a backup. It just came in. I'm not super confident with it yet, but for sure.
Nice, dude. I like it. Well, thanks
Uh,
for jumping in.
Let's
Yeah.
start with community. Let's start with community. I think there's community, there's travel, and then there's both brought together. Zach, in all your experience, and when I met you, it was pretty cool observing the types of community you brought together and how powerful the connections and how deep the conversations were almost instantly when people would get together. But I think you had something to do with that process. I think you had principles or a certain way in which you did it. I'd love to start with what are some of your major principles for building powerful community?
That's a great question. Gosh, I wish I had it written down where I had like five principles. I might actually take notes after this podcast. That's a great question. For me, the concept of community has always been really interesting, and it's always been quite present because from a really young age, I never felt really deeply connected to the communities that I was presented as a child. I grew up in like a Wall Street town, and I didn't feel like a banker. And then the other option was to be like an artist, and I didn't quite feel like an artist. And so I was always searching for like what my community was. And I'm 38 years old, so I grew up on the internet. And so very quickly from an early age, like my community wasn't the people on my block. My community was like these people distributed all around the world. And I always inherently felt connected to these people all over the world more than I felt connected to the people that were like geographically close to me. And I never knew how to articulate it. So a lot of my life in community building was trying to help people who feel similar to me articulate what we're actually part of. And so the conversations that I've brought together over the years have always been projects to help, first myself in a selfish way, but like I was like, gosh, I know I'm part of this big global interesting community. I just can't like touch it. And so every event I've ever done was never designed specifically to build community, but it was designed to help me and the other people that feel like me feel feel it, And so it's hard to make community tangible. And so one of the things I always do is try to make, a great teacher of mine always said, I wasn't a teacher, more of like a mentor. He's like, the most powerful community building technology the world has ever seen is the dinner table. And the second most powerful piece of community building technology is conversation.
Dude.
So people want to share conversations. They want to talk. They want to break bread together. One of the most powerful community building tactics that any group of people has ever that's spanned millennia is Shabbat dinner from the Jewish faith. It's quite literally just dinner. The ritual is almost just like don't work and talk to your friends and family and loved ones. And
Wow.
so if you were to break it down a little bit and look at community and principles, ritual is incredibly important. and rituals are things that happen on a consistent basis. So I always use Shabbat as an example. I didn't grow up Jewish. I'm partially Jewish, but I'm not like a practitioner of the Jewish faith. But it's a really great example because it happens every Friday without fail, no matter where you are, no matter who you're with. It happens at sundown on Friday, and you can count on that. What really helps people feel part of community is something that they don't always have to. Church, even think about church, like you don't have to go to church every Sunday, but it happens, and you can go, and you know that you can go, and you know that it's there. Something that's always happening, consistent ritual, is super important.
That's you know what
Yeah.
that's really good, man. So some things that I hadn't thought of before because both Jarek and I have built online communities, so a lot of this is resonating with us, and one of those is just the consistency in something happening and allowing
Yep.
you to jump in whether you want to or not, but knowing that it's there creates this trust that the community is there, and I didn't look at it that way before. So
It's most people like we did a community when we built Habitas community years ago. We would do these Wednesday dinners everywhere around the world. We'd have dinner on Wednesday, and it's funny. People they weren't that popular. It was like thousands of people go to the community, but like tens of people, 10s, 20, 30, 50 people coming to the dinners. And in talking to people, they're like, I've been planning on coming to dinner. Like just I know it's happening, and it makes me feel good that I'm part of a thing that I know is happening. So even if someone doesn't go to the thing that you're doing, what do they say? Like they're like, keep the fire lit.
so true.
And so we have this weird role with the three of us and everyone listening to this podcast today of like taking ancient practices that kept communities together in a world where we were all in the same place and figuring out how to do that both in real life, but also on using the internet and the tools of communication that we have on the internet to do that. There's another fun one. I can, if you want, I have another fun one. And there's a great movement builder who Marshall Gans. He's a professor in the Northeast, and he architected both Obama campaigns, the Hope campaign and the Change campaign. And he, broadly speaking, he has a summary of community movement building and community building, and it says everything needs to have an I am, a we are, and a this is.
Ooh.
So if you're building a community, every individual needs to be able to say, I am because of this thing, right? Whatever your community is, can an individual say, I am part of it, and this is what makes me part of it. And this is my identity I have because of being part of it. Now, if a bunch of individuals all have an identity based on a specific thing, then that naturally creates a we are. Because now there's other people that clearly are able to say that they're part of this thing. And then what makes the movement is that this is, which means that thing that we're part of is in service to something bigger than all of us. And usually what happens is if the thing that it's in service of is bigger than all of us, if that's not true today, it creates the movement. So that's why you always see like an optimistic vision for the future with hope, with change, for better or worse. Donald Trump did a great job of this as well with Make America Great Again. It's like we have this identity, we have these values. It's not true right now. We got to make it. We got to go there. So it's an interesting principle for community building. Hard to achieve, but very simple when achieved.
And do you think that we should, in building communities, because you mentioned something earlier on, you're like, hey, when I lived in this community, I felt like I belonged to it. It was in my realm. When we're building communities, I think a lot of us overthink it and say we want to include everyone. But you're saying the opposite. Let's include the people that want to belong here. How would you say that works?
It's impossible to have an us without a them. It's just I think I've talked on this specific topic a bit. This specific topic is a little bit controversial, and I could try to break it break it in a little bit, but like, how many times have we all heard people say, like, we're all one? It's like, no, 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 we're not. Like, every individual has values, and there's people who violate those values, and they're not part of my community. Like, for example, a murderer, when actively murdering people, is not a part of my community. They're violating my value of the preservation of human life. So they're not included. Now, they can change and transform and become part of my community, but in that moment, someone who's racist is not part of my community. Right? So I'm not all one with that person. And so I think it's important to always define, like, what are we? What do we stand for? And it doesn't have to be like an all-encompassing life belief, but like, we're all here. We're all CEOs in this group. Like, I'm in a group that the deal is you're all CEOs, and that's it. Like, we're helping people advance our businesses. So there's people not included, not by the nature of discrimination, just like this is a group for these types of people that are doing this role. And so all the way up to like America, there's certain people that aren't included in that, and same with every nation or religion or belief system. If you try to be all encompassing and grab everyone, you get no one.
That's true.
It doesn't mean that people can't join if they change their mind, or if they change how they are, or they want to go through the rites of passage or take the oaths or go through the rituals that you ask people to join. I had a friend who built a membership club years ago in LA, and he made everyone just write a story about chicken. It had to be a funny story about a chicken. That's all you had to do, but everyone did it, and it was a joke on rituals and rites of passage, right?
That's so funny. Jarek, when we're building this Discord community, we
I
should.
now know how people are going to get in. There's a story about a chicken on an island you're going to have to write before we'll let you in. I like this. I like where this is going.
Okay.
That's so good.
I got a story in reserve, right? Getting ready for you.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so good, man.
I
Jarek,
love this. So
what?
there's certain principles of community. And then I want to circle back to the story. So we have these principles that bring community together, ritual, things that are happening every single time, regardless if people are there or not. But it allows them to psychologically have the certainty that, hey, it's happening and I can choose to be there when it's going on. And that gives them the ability to connect. We have the ability to know I am, we are, this is, which is a really powerful framework to align values, align purpose, align mission. And so we have community principles starting. Let's talk about travel. What does travel mean in the modern world? What does travel mean right now to people, especially after a few years of lockdown? I heard someone use the word revenge travel a few weeks ago, which made me laugh because I've never heard of that concept. But
Yeah.
I'm certainly geared up to start traveling again. I know friends and family are. And so, what are you seeing in terms of travel right now?
That's a great question, and I think revenge travel is funny, and it's happening. And you know, there's people who are saving up their vacation and going on the vacation, and there's a lot of revenge travel in that world. I'd like to take the question in a different direction, because what I see, building off community and talking about, mentioned, like, what does travel mean in the modern world today? Um, I see that because there's a great quote that says the internet made close people far and far people close, right? And so we're close with all these far people, right? And there's people now, especially with new work from home policies and the ability for people to, like, the there's broadband internet all over the world with Starlink, the ability to live and work in multiple locations throughout the year, or to travel more as a lifestyle, or to go places that aren't necessarily like as a vacation. We're seeing a ton of that. Like, we're not quite a vacation rental platform. Airbnb is like, you go there, you rent a vacation home, you go on vacation with your friends and the family, and you go to get the ski house or the beach house. We're home sharing. So we're seeing people who are like, listen, I live in New York, but I want to spend a month in LA, but I don't want to pay rent in New York when I'm in LA. And then I'm going to go over here, and they're not trying to go on vacation. And so what we're seeing is this, I think there's less and less people that now that there's let's change it from less and less. There's more and more people today that have the ability to travel outside of where they live more than 2 weeks a year. The old adage was like 50 weeks a year where you live, 2 weeks of travel and vacation. Now we're seeing people being gone like 3 or 4 months of the year.
Wow.
But they're trying, but what we're enabling them to do is not like have their home or their apartment sit empty for 4 months while they're gone, because then it becomes unaffordable. So we're seeing a lot of like increased mobility, more so than like vacation travel. That's for the
I like
biggest impact I've
Hmm.
seen, and especially on community. Now if you went to school, if you have an iPhone, if you've traveled even a little bit, if you went to high school or college, or you've taken a job that sent you anywhere, you have people all over the world nowadays. And you've likely stayed in touch with them because of Facebook and Instagram. So
Yeah.
as community dispersed, travel is different. It's like more you're going to be with your people,
Hmm.
less. We're also seeing a lot of people host friends who are coming to town in their
Hmm.
spare bedrooms or things like that. It's a great way to catch up with people. No way to get to know someone better or catch up with a friend than like share space with them for 5 days.
I have a question about this in a different way. And I'm thinking now, I want, if I'm thinking Ready Player One, right? How does that change travel, do you think? I mean, have you thought of that? What does that look like?
Yeah, I have a really strong opinion about that. It's a great question, right? Like I'm I'm not into the metaverse.
No,
I'm
there's
just
nothing wrong
not.
with it. Yeah.
I don't want to be there. I don't want to go there. I don't want to build tools for it. I love this verse, like this world.
I love this verse. That's so
This
good,
is
dude.
cool. Like we haven't even figured out how to get really good at this one yet. Like I don't need to build another one. It's freaking beautiful here. Like we haven't destroyed it yet. It's still amazing. And so I think we are this generation that's like this interstitial state before we end up in the metaverse, and now that we're online, we're using these online tools to like get in person with people more than we've ever been able to do before. Even this is like kind of in person, and we're not in the metaverse. We're chatting. Like
Yeah.
I'm me. I'm Zach. I look like this. You know, you're Jarek. You look like that. You're there. Like I don't need to like have horns.
Well, we just connected. I mean, we're connecting Puerto Rico, Baja California, and Los Angeles in a streaming conversation that's going out to thousands of people around the world all at the
Yeah.
same time. And so it's neat. Like you said, it brings us together and makes us close right now. Yet in reality, we're quite far apart. And so I think the concept of MyPlace now does something special, meaning we're close but far in this moment, but then the platform gives us the ability that if us three and our friends and family wanted to all gather in one place, there's a way we could do that. There's a way we could all come down to Baja or all come to Puerto Rico or all go to LA and have a place to stay with people with similar values and interests, to have those rituals and dinners and conversations that forms a deeper community that
Yeah.
I know so many people
Exactly.
crave right now. And I know I'm saying that because I crave it. And I've talked to so many friends around the world. My friend Alex is currently in Montenegro right now. He just texted me. I have clients and friends all the way from Los Angeles to Sri Lanka. And passing through all those places, I so often hear, like, when you're here, let me know. We'll grab dinner.
Yeah.
And my thought,
That and
I was just talking to my wife
that's what.
about I was just talking to my
Let
wife
me know.
about this, and we were starting to map out our journey for next year. And instead of thinking of it like travel, like a vacation of, oh, we're going to go there, but then we got to zip back because I got to work. I
Hmm.
just look at time zones and say, as long as we stay within these time zones, everything functions pretty much the same. So I was looking at South Africa for maybe February or March. And I was like, let's just get a house on the beach with a great view. We'll get a villa with a pool overlooking the ocean, and let's just go for a month and a half, and we'll just work and live from there. We can broadcast from there. We can hang out there. We can do our meetings from there. And now we're just living in South Africa for a month and a half. And
Yeah.
then we can pack up, come back to Puerto Rico, and keep living the same life on another slightly different time zone, but in the same process. And I think that's
And
something really special.
we're working to make that a possibility for more and more people every month because it's accessible now. It's just complicated to organize. But so I'm going to Cape Town. I'm actually going to Cape Town in January, and I'm spending like 4 weeks there. But I'm staying with friends. I've got 5 days. I'm taking my girlfriend to this really cool place. We're renting a hotel. I still go to hotels all the time, but like for the most part, we're staying with friends who I didn't remember that I knew, but knew through a friend of a friend that I discovered on the platform that I remembered on MyPlace. And what my goal with MyPlace is, how you said, like, when you run into somebody, you're like, hey, next time you're in Seattle, like, let me know. I'd love to host you. How many times have you had that conversation? Like,
A
that's
ton.
the interaction that we create as friendships
When we
on MyPlace.
connected, I'll tell a quick story. I remember you and I connected and we were talking about MyPlace, the concept, and I had flown with a group of friends up to um, New York City. And when we were landing, my friend's girlfriend said, whenever you come to the city, come stay with us. And I was like, okay, cool. And a few weeks later, I had another flight going into New York City. As I was landing, I was like, man, I really want to text them and ask if we can stay with them. But I also feel kind of embarrassed that I'm going to text someone as the plane is landing to say, hey, do you happen to have a room open? Now, my friend's daughter was like, always come over. Don't even question it. Literally, show up. Like, we have an extra room. You literally can just have it. Doesn't matter. But the tension it built inside of me was like, I don't want to text them right when I'm landing. It feels like I don't know what I'm doing in life if I'm texting someone
We're
like that.
building
And
a
so,
new feature. We're building a new feature. So we've been working on this social interaction for the last like 12 months. We've been researching it. And so what we found, this is interesting. I think, Jared, you'll love this. Is like, so we originally built a site where like your friends can make their calendar open and you can send a request. That'll completely change in the next few months, where it'll be, you just let your friends, you let your network on MyPlace know when you're coming to town, and they can offer you a place. Because the real life interaction is you text someone, you say, hey, I'm coming to New York. And then they say, oh my God, stay with me. You don't text your friend and say, hey, can I stay with you? So we're letting it be a network where you let the people that you trust know that you're coming to town and let them offer you a place to stay if they want. Less like booking and all that stuff that's kind of like more of a vacation rental interaction. So really excited about that, actually. I mean, at the end of the day, I can't see my community anymore. Like years ago, like during mid-century, last century of like the United States, it was like from sea to shining sea, from Mexico to Canada. Like, these are my people. My community's not American. Like, I mean, some of them are. Some of them are other places. They're not in a border. So what I hope we can do with MyPlace, the biggest misconception of MyPlace, because there's thousands of these on the internet, is that it's like a private club for home sharing. But it's not. It's your private club for home sharing. So it's you see places to stay from your friends and their friends. So your own, every person's network. There's 4,200 houses on the platform. I can only see 1,800 because those are my friends' houses. So you only see the places and the people that you know. And hopefully my 10-year vision is like, this is a tool that helps us identify and visualize where our people are around the world. Because once you can identify and see who is in your community, whether it's the people that are in this Discord, the people that are on MyPlace, the people that are, that all wear pink t-shirts. Once you can see it, communities start to share with each other. But if you can't see who your people are, you don't know who to share with. And so in this world of like not knowing who our communities are, everyone sells everything to each other and nobody shares anything with each other.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is build a community of people who remember the first thing that you were taught when you start to socialize. I know Jared has children. I don't know if your kids, but like the first thing you teach a child when they start to socialize with other children, share.
Yeah, it's so funny. So true.
Literally, it's the first thing you teach because it makes your life so much better.
Yeah, that's so true. Dude,
So,
I was when you said MyPlace, so I'm looking myplace.co. That's your website. And I'm looking at it, I'm listening to what you're saying, And I'm already thinking of a few friends that are like multimillionaires and they open the doors all the time. They're like, Tristan, you should come over. Tristan. So I just texted your link over to one friend. His name is Howard Tager. He he's the CEO of Ylopo and he's had multiple exits. And he goes, dude, I love it. I'm texting him with him right now. He goes, I love this. Then he sends me a picture of himself in Costa Rica right now. And he goes, you should come over. And he goes, I love this website, which is hilarious.
That's the idea. I mean, I'm actually writing. It's funny you mentioned like you texted a link over to your like very wealthy friend. I'm writing a blog post right now called "I Could Never Afford My Lifestyle." It's like, it's just, it's like I share the little that I have, and my friends share the little that they have. Some of them have a ton. If we all share, we all have more. I learned this lesson. I traveled the world. I got lucky enough. I met this guy. This really interesting. He was a circus performer turned billionaire, and he always just filled every bedroom he had everywhere, constantly with people that his friends. And I was like, man, what are you doing? He was like, it's all about my lifestyle is directly related to being surrounded by community and people that I love and trust. You can have these big old houses, but if they're empty and you're there by yourself, it's just sad and lonely. I mean, I have this little shack and I always have like people on the couch and people posting tents up front. And it's like just better when there's people in our community around and we're all so all over the place that one of the best ways to do it is to share places to stay. And so that's the movement we're building, is just helping people share again. And the most important thing is like, we were promised the sharing economy in like 2008, and we got a vacation rental website and a taxi app.
That's so funny. I didn't think about it like that. That's funny.
It's because it's like sharing isn't like trust isn't like reviews from internet strangers. Trust is like my friends and their friends and introducing people to each other. So I don't want to share my house with everyone on the internet. I want to share my house with like within a trusted network. And so I think everyone feels more. It's not about being discriminatory, right? It's about like, just, I don't know who that person is if I'm not introduced to them in some way. And eventually we'll build tools to help to get to know and meet new people. But right now we're letting you meet new people through your friends. And so one of my employees was like, this is a vortex for community. And I hope it can be. And I think what you're building as well with success is an amazing community. And I think the more and more people that use these digital tools to bring real community together, that's what can solve a lot. I mean, there's a loneliness pandemic right now because we haven't redefined community in a digital age.
Yeah.
Dude.
Tristan, we should create a Success MyPlace account or chat stream where people can literally start teaming up with their friends and community and connecting homes to be able to share places. I was talking to different people who are within the community, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to go to our ski house," or "Oh, we're going to go down to our condo on the beach." And I was like, "Well,
Dude.
shoot, how often are you there, and how often are you not there? And what if we share? Because I've got a few places we could all mix in."
Yeah, what you could do is you could make a channel on your Discord, and you could just pin a link. We're betaing a feature right now, which is groups. And anyone who joins the group gets access, can share with each other because of the group. So I can give you a link that you can pin on the top of the Discord, and everyone can just talk in the chat, and everyone can see each other's places in the group. It'll have has a map too, so you can see where everyone is around the world.
I love that. I love that a lot. And the article that you're talking about, what was it? What would you say you're talking about? That would make an amazing article for success, man. I was like, I would read that.
I love to publish it with you guys.
All right, Jerick and I will see who we can do.
Really, sharing is such deep magic. It's hard to explain. I mean, it's when you share, you have literally more. You're giving something away and getting more from it. It's kind of crazy. And we don't consider sharing like totally non-financial, right? Like if you're going to stay in my house for a month, like covering my rent or covering my mortgage or covering my expenses or whatever it costs me to have the house, that's sharing. But like if I pay, but like I'm not charging you $300, or whatever. I'm not charging you like vacation rental prices. I'm not charging you. I'm just like, I consider sharing cost sharing. And some people share costs. Some people just help each other pay for the cleaners. Some people leave each other gifts. Some people swap. Some people just give each other a room to stay. We don't make a we don't discriminate on what you want to do with your house and with your friends. So
I love it. Jarek, anything in closing, buddy?
Dude, I'm pumped about this. I know the world's opening back up. We just saw certain restrictions are dropping in certain places. So
Yep.
we were literally just planning out our 2023 and being like, where do we want to go? And like you said, we have a vision and a plan of staying 2 months or 3 months out of the year in different parts of the world, just so that my son grows up experiencing the world. I think that's one of the best educations you can give a young person, is letting them grow up and experience how other places are, how other people are, and how life is everywhere else. Because it opens their mind, it opens their heart, it opens their understanding of how the world operates in so many different beautiful ways. And I'm looking forward to using the platform to find out the right people to build community with and all the places we decide to go. So, Zach, thank you for joining us. Tristan, thank you for hosting as always. And everyone who showed up to watch and listen, thank you for showing up. Thank you for tuning in. And we look forward to seeing you again for another Success Talk.